Alright, today's video is on how to interpret the remainder when given a long division problem. You'll have three choices of what to do with it. You can share the remainder, ignore the remainder, or round the remainder, and it will all depend on the situation. And there will be key words to look for. So I'm going to show you three examples, one for each of those. First one we're going to do is share the remainder. Okay, so the first example is share it, and here's an example. You want to drive from Disney to FSU or Tallahassee, and here we go. The entire distance is 257 miles. And you want to make 4 stops with Tallahassee being the 4th stop. How many miles should you drive between stops? So we're going to do the math. I'm going to go ahead and just do the standard algorithm here. We're going to set up as 257 divided by 4. I'm going to do an estimate first. So my estimate I'll do over here is I'm going to make it 240 divided by 4 is about 60. So my answer I should expect is around 60. So let me do the math. 25, I know it'll go in 6 times, so I'm going to do 4, 24. I'm going to subtract 1, I'm going to bring down 7, 4 will go into 17 4 times with 1 remainder. So alright, so what it's saying is if I try to drive from Disney to Tallahassee, I need to stop every 64.25 miles. Now, this is where we're going to want to share the remainder, because if you decide to ignore the remainder and go with 64, you're not going to make it to Tallahassee because you will be 1 mile short. And let's look at that. So say you decide you want to ignore it, then you would go 64, stop 1, 64, stop 2, 64, stop 3, 64. So if I were to add those up 4 times, I'm only going to get 257. I didn't make it. 256, excuse me, didn't make it. If you round, so that's not the way to do it. Let's erase that. Okay, if you round, now here's what it looks like rounding. That means you would do 64, actually, or round up to 65. So we have 65. 65, 65, 65. And if we do that, then we would end up with 260, which would be too far because we only need to go 257 miles. So the best option here, if we want to go the equivalent amount, is to simply share the remainder. That means you want to count the remainder. Alright, here's an example of how you would, or when you would ignore the remainder. And notice here, I'm going to read the question. It says you have 25 ounces of juice. Each glass is 8 ounces. How many glasses can you completely fill? The magic words are completely fill. So let's just take a look at it. So we have this pitcher. Okay, it's got 25 ounces. And we have cups. Okay. And we want to completely fill them to the top. Alright, so you can see here that I did the math, and it's pretty easy math because it's only 25 ounces, but we'll have bigger numbers in the homework. And when you divide 8, or 25 by 8, you can fill 3 cups. Here's 1 cup, here's the 2nd cup, here's the 3rd cup, but we don't have enough juice to do the 4th cup. So this would be an instance where you're going to ignore it because of the question that's asked. How many glasses can you completely fill? I can only completely fill 3 glasses. So you ignore the remainder at this point. All right, so you're looking for those words. How many can I fill? How many can I completely fill? Okay, now we're ready for our last example of what to do with the remainder. All right, so here's our example. We have 16 students in line to ride Space Mountain. Each roller coaster car holds 3 people. How many cars are needed so that all, this is the key word here, all students ride? So when it usually deals with people or animals, you're going to have to round up because you can't do half a person or half an animal, so, or half a car in this instance. So what we're going to do is, here's the math of it right here. It would take 5 1/3 cars. Well, you can't have 1/3 of a car. So what we're going to do is, in this instance, we would round up because we would need 6 cars in order for everyone to be included. 6 roller coaster cars. So this is an example where you would round up when you want to include everyone, because you can't have a half car or half a person. Or if it's even something that you might be doing as far as packaging, how many bags of flour do you need? You may only need 2.5 bags of flour, but Publix doesn't sell half a bag. So you would have to round up to 3, otherwise you wouldn't have enough flour. So those are some examples of how to share it, ignore it, or round it. Have a good evening.